Hi, I'm going to show you how to subtract fractions with unlike denominators using fraction strips on a graph. This is a cutout of the graph paper used on the STAR test, and I'm going to show you how to show students that they can use the graph paper to do a pictorial model that will help them solve addition and subtraction of fractions. Tom and his sister bought some chocolate. Tom bought 1 2/3 pounds of dark chocolate and his sister bought half a pound of white chocolate. How many pounds of chocolate did they buy together? So here we have an addition problem. We're going to be adding 1 2/3, get a different pen, pounds of dark chocolate and half a pound of white chocolate together. It's important to note that the least common denominator in this case is 6. We need to know that so that we can use the squares that are in our graph paper to draw our fraction strip. So we're going to use 6 squares. That's going to be our 1 whole. Our 2/3, use the same amount of squares. We have to have the same size. And then we're going to represent our 1/2. For our 1 whole, the entire fraction strip represents our 1 whole. It's an entire strip. All of those squares are shaded in. To represent the 2/3, you can shade in 2 out of 3 squares, or you can cut your fraction strip into 3 parts. 1, 2, 3, and you shade in 2 of those 3 parts. So that's 2/3. For our representing 1/2, we cut our fraction strip into 2 parts, and we shade in 1 of those 2 parts. Okay, so now you see that we have 1 2/3 and a half. We're going to add all those pieces together. We've got our 2/3 piece in the middle, and we see those 2 empty squares. Or in our third piece down here, we have 2 of these squares could easily be moved into here to fill up those pieces. So now we have a hole here, we have another hole in here, and we've got 1 piece left over. That's 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our answer is that we have 1, 2, and 1/6 pounds of chocolate. Okay? You can do the same thing with a subtraction problem. Use the graph paper to create a pictorial model with fraction strips. So here's our problem. A fish bowl holds 1 1/4 gallons of water. Evan tipped it over and spilled 5/6 of the water in the bowl. How much water is left in the bowl? Actually, it should be an L right there. Okay, we have 1 1/4. We're going to subtract the water that was spilled. And we're going to use fraction strips or a pictorial model of fraction strips to solve this. You need to figure out what the least common denominator is. Least common denominator in this case is 12. So we're going to need 12 of the squares in here. That's going to represent our 1 whole. I'm going to shade in the entire thing. We're now going to use the same number of squares because we have to have our holes being the same size. We're going to represent 1/4. So we're going to cut this up into 4 pieces or shade in 1 out of every 4 pieces. And we shade in 1 out of the 4 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we shade in 1 entire piece. And then the last fraction strip that we're going to make will represent 5 out of 6. Means we're going to cut this up into 6 pieces. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and shade in 5 out of the 6 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This tells us that we're going to be subtracting a total of 10 pieces. There's 2 in each one of these. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So here's our solution. Whatever's left over that didn't get crossed out is how much water is left in the bowl. All of these pieces in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out of, we had a total of 12 square. So 5/12 of the gallon is what's left over. Okay, so that's using fraction strips as a pictorial model on the graph paper to solve addition and subtraction of fractions with unlike denominators.